My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is funny as hell. They are a comedian. No, really, a stand-up comedian. Within this episode, we talked about his career as a comedian and navigating the comedy space with a gender diverse identity. We even got into the role location plays and getting on stage when Black folks are the audience. We also talked about embracing different pronouns, relationships with parents, and him actually being a hater and proud of it. You are definitely going to enjoy this episode.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois, amplifying, transmitting, color voices, yeah, we here making noise, yeah. Visibility equals possibility.
Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is not a stranger to the mic at all. They are a queer afrolatinx, part-time storyteller, part-time hater, and a stand-up comedian, artist, and designer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks to know who you are, name and pronouns?
Sure. My name is Jonnea Herman. I use she, her, he, him pronouns interchangeably. I'm originally from outside of Chicago, Midwest, but I've been in New York for almost 8. I've been in Brooklyn for 7 years, but been on the East Coast. I went to college upstate, to Skidmore. So I've been out there for, I guess, now over 10 years. And I do a full-time job. I'm a graphic designer. But outside of graphic design, I'm a stand-up comedian that performs around New York City and anywhere else that people will have me.
Yes, so. Community, anywhere else. So if community got some bookings for you to be there anywhere across the country, you have any exclusions of where you won't show up?
I will show up.
You will show up. First of all, I want to discuss you talking about you a hater. What is that about?
Oh, I feel like this is something I've been leaning more into.
Okay.
I do find myself to be a people pleaser sort of person. If you're into astrology, I'm a Libra. So, it kind of fits the form. But I've realized that I get upset, I think, not actually upset, but I have opinions and I'm actually perhaps more judgmental than than I realize. And I've been trying to kind of talk about that more in my stand-up. One of the things that I have a joke where I talk about how this Pride Month, this time I'm trying to come out as a hater, and I have a list of things that really irk me. And so I've been trying to just lean more into that, and I'm yeah, I do. I'm not actually irritated in a way that's oh wow, Jonnea's in a bad mood, but I'm I didn't like that. Or I also work in a corporate environment, and there's all sorts of things, and I'm that's not good. That you shouldn't do that. So yeah, I think that's what I mean by being a hater.
Okay, I love that. But I was gonna say people hate on the low and then try to act like they're not haters. So I respect that you coming out. You you know what? I'm a damn hater, and that's just it. So
I'm really trying to step into my truth with that. I do think I was shy about it, but no, I'm I don't know. I'm realizing more. I'm more critical than I thought, and I'm pretty open minded to anything. Anything I'm down. I'm a yes man. I'll say yes to most things, not in a any type of way, but just go to a new thing, a new place, an event. I say yes, but I'm going to have judgments and I'm going to have questions about X, Y, Z.
And you're gonna be verbal about them.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. I would like to bring it up some more.
Hey, and that's in the true comedy form, though, right? As a comedian, that's what comedians do. They bring shit up, right?
And so, yeah, and so much of it is just paying attention. Ask a question. One of my favorite jokes I do is about Shen Yun. It's I actually don't know anything about Shen Yun, and that these all these sort of cultural. I'm wait, I don't know anything about that, and I went to go see it because I wanted to know more about it.
So
and I learned some stuff. So
I've seen the advertisement for it. So how was it?
I mean, it was something. It's definitely propaganda, and there's a cult that they abuse their dancers. I maybe shouldn't have gone. Actually, it was probably the
now
case.
That you say it out loud, right?
Yeah, now that I said it out loud, but I was just so curious, and I do find comedy or a lot of things really is just a place of questions or I want to know more. So
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you this. I went when it was out here and I fell asleep, so I couldn't tell you what the fuck happened. I just know
you
what
fell asleep.
I
There's so
did.
much noise.
It it was it wasn't exciting. It was boring to me. So I woke up was like, oh shit, we done? I had a good sleep. I
It's,
was dreaming and everything.
it's definitely a lull. I would say there was a part where I was like, okay, y'all still playing with the ribbons? Okay, so
I
that makes
love
sense.
that. I love that. So I love to ask my guests, like, how did your name choose you?
Oh, how did my name choose me? Well, in particular, so Jonnea, that's my birth name. I'm an only child, and my parents named me after them. So my dad's name is Lane, and my mom's name is Joanne. So Jonnea.
Okay. Okay. I love
Yeah,
that.
and I'm not particularly looking to try to change my name. I find that, especially when it comes to, I think, me and my parents, we're very much like a bit of a trio, so to speak. Um, and I really feel like, especially when it comes to even my gender, I feel very much kind of both, like and or both and sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I feel like my name is like a perfect example of that.
And I feel like the name is not really gender per se, and I don't get that,
Yeah, it's
right?
not particularly gendered. I don't, I do think it has a bit. I mean, I've met other John and they're all women. So I think there's something that, but it's not that telling. And plus, people say my name wrong all the time. Jonnea. Even if I say my name, they'll go, Johnny? I'm like, yes,
That's it,
whatever. Uh,
right?
so yeah, it doesn't, it's not super. I think if it was super gendered, I would feel some type of way about it, but I like it. Yeah, I think it makes me think it's like a family name. It's like about me and my parents. So
I love that. And so, how was your relationship with your parents?
my relationship with my parents, it's all right. It's good. I it comes when it comes to like my gender or like all the times I've come out, like they're perfect. There's never really been a fear of mine to like come out to them or be truthful. They've always been open. So and they've always, they'll ask questions, but even after, a while, I was like, all right, you gotta stop asking me. Like, go do some Googling. I'm gonna get upset. And so they, and they took that to heart and they did that. So I've been really lucky uh with that with my parents. And um yeah, I mean that's just one of the luckier things that turned out when it comes to sort of identity things like that.
Yeah, I know you said that your pronouns he, him, her, she, her interchangeably, right? And so we don't often hear that, and right, folks are often rigid with their pronouns. It's like you get it right or don't. People get bent out of shape if you fuck it up, but to embrace both she and him, how is that integrated into your gender journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just, one of the things growing up, I was, considered a tomboy. I played all the sports. I didn't wear pink. And one of the things my dad would say, he would say like he got the best of both worlds. He has like a daughter and a son.
Mm.
Um, Also, like I'm mixed. My mom is Puerto Rican. My dad's black. And whatever, even the name stuff, I don't know. There's like just always been, I feel like, a pattern of like two, like 1 + 1 = 3. It's kind of like something I think about a lot of like you have two different things and then you have this third new thing. Um, and as I've like transitioned obviously into more masculine presenting, um, I've realized that like my attachment to girlhood, so to speak, or even now, like I really do get 50-50 in terms of I don't know how people perceive me really ever. It's a bit of an issue. I would just
Mm.
rather have more control over like how people see me, but I still get she, her pretty often.
Mm.
And I'm not really sure why that is, but like, regardless, I still feel like an affinity to being a woman or identifying as one, especially I think a black woman or a black girl. Like that's obviously so specific. And I don't really feel like it's something I like have transitioned away from, so to speak. I mean, if anything, I'm probably at my most feminine now.
Mm.
Um, and like, you could ask me at 13, would I wear a dress? No. You can ask me now. And I go, well, depends on the dress,
Mm.
sort of thing. So it's really shifted in that way. And I feel like, and also in my life, people, it changes. Like people who meet me now use pretty much he, him. My parents use she, her. My dad will kind of step into it and be like, this is my son. And I'm like, all right, chill out. Like, you're like emphasizing it too much. So, yeah, it always, I think in my head or just like growing up, it's always felt like there's two things and you put them together and there's like a third new thing. And when it comes to my pronouns, also, I do kind of like the tension there because of like, when someone says he, him to me, I go, okay, I get it. If someone says she, her, I'm like, huh. I feel like it kind of tells me more about a room too. And then like, especially if I'm like interacting with like straight cis people who default to like they, them, I go, okay, well now you've clocked me out loud, right? Like you've now told everyone here something's going on with me. So much so that maybe it's in between. And that I'm like, just pick one. Like, cause then I feel like at the very least, you're communicating to me, you see me as something versus like a question mark, which obviously that's like talking from me and like my perception or experience of it. But yeah, I feel even more girly, if you will, now than I ever did before. And I feel like my girlhood or growing up as a Black girl is really specific to me. And, it's not something I see myself, I guess, moving away from, but just actually getting, I guess perhaps like more myself, which feels like a bit of both.
Mm. So even as growing up, did you feel connected with your girlhood?
No. I mean, I think I was definitely trying to push it away, definitely, any sort of milestone like first bra, first period, were all quite
Oof.
traumatic
Oof.
or like,
Yeah.
really intense or, no, so I didn't feel it growing up, but I definitely feel like now there's like this new version of me where I'm like, oh, these things that like I hated as a girl, it's like, oh, it's not so bad. Oh, I see. The problem was like XYZ, not this thing as a, this
Mhm.
girly thing. But no, definitely growing up, when I was really young, like kindergarten age, I would get confused as a boy and my mom would correct it. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like, let them cook. They doing something. No, so definitely not as a child. Um, and I was definitely like, I would get confused as a boy growing up. And then I went to public school. I was in Catholic school for a while, but then public school I had to be out of uniform.
Mm.
And that's kind of where it became like an issue. Like, oh, I'm like too much of a boy. It's like seventh grade. I started straightening my hair. I started wearing like tighter clothes. Like, that's kind of when that really became a girl. Or like, I felt like I had to socially. Um, so, yeah.
I was just thinking, like, when you said first period in bra, like that really turned my stomach because I remember those moments. Like right when you said it's like it's almost like I forgot about those moments because I pushed them out of my mind because I hated them so much. But I remember just those moments of like first period. I cried because I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I also like, the whole thing, I knew it was coming, and it came, and like, I wasn't prepared. So then like I'm at school, and also like I have a particular thing about like bathrooms, which like I don't like being in bathrooms. I find
Mm.
bathrooms gross. Like any bathroom, it's like a whole thing. And now I have to spend more time. Like it was like, going to school, I would never go to the bathroom during the day
Mm.
because I'd rather go at home where it's like cleaner or whatever. But now with a period, I had to like, so it just like created all of these other sorts of issues. And like, yeah, these sort of like milestones. I remember my mom being like, wow, like She like told her mom. I'm like, oh my, this is not worth celebration. Like,
Right,
I am not
exactly.
happy
Who
about
is
this.
happy about this? Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's such a thing though. Like, oh, like my daughter's finally XYZ, and I'm like horrified by this process.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
more so than the actual. To me, I didn't like it because I thought it was gross. It's just gross. I'm
gross.
very
Yes,
particular about bathrooms, but I'm also very particular about cleanliness. And to me, it's just like,
100%.
yeah, it's like you're just not clean, right? It's your
Yes,
body's natural process of cleaning itself out per se, right? And shedding the old and all of that stuff. But
yeah,
it's gross.
it's gross. It's visceral. It's such a body experience that like that. I mean, whatever. Like for cis men, no idea, or
Mhm.
just like no, like you don't know how like intimate it is to like have to, and whatever. I had like a progression of like pads for the longest. I never figured out how to do tampons,
Mm,
and then eventually I did get some relief from like a Diva cup,
mm,
and even that's really intimate. But that was like the only thing that made me feel like I can handle this.
mm.
Actually, and it made me feel almost like because it's so intimate, it made me like less afraid of my body in some ways. But I mean, yeah, that taking testosterone like that is for me that is the number one benefit.
Mm.
Like I don't care whatever the voice, the hair, no, no, no. It's like no more periods.
Yes.
It's my number one.
Thank goodness. But you know what? For folks that don't know, what is a Diva Cup? You mind explaining that to folks who don't know?
Sure. Diva cup is basically a menstruation device. I think it's like silicone or rubber. It's like shaped as like a mini chalice, basically. You fold it in a particular way and you have to like insert it. It's kind of like a tampon without an applicator. So you have to insert it into yourself. And I mean, basically, you can leave it in for like up to 12 hours. You can swim in it. It's reusable. There's no toxic shock stuff. It's not, pads obviously are basically like half a diaper. It's none of that. So there's like a lot of comfort level to it. And for me, like when I had a period, my period was like 1 week long,
Mm.
and which was terrible. So, but this made it like much more manageable. Um, and yeah, I mean, hopefully that like explains it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know one thing that I found comfort in. I mean, even though it was just a gross process in general, it was one girl I went to junior high school with. Me and her started at the exact same time, and we would always be on our cycles at the same time of the month. And so it would always be a check-in. You on yours? Yeah, I'm on mine. Right. And I don't know. It was just something about that made me feel more comfortable. Of like, she wasn't a masculine person, but she was still my friend. Right. And so it was this, that commonality of like, okay, we are both going through this experience and we're kind of humanizing it in a way so that we feel a little bit more comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it just was never something that I got into. And I actually had a hysterectomy years before
Mm,
I started T. And so
really.
yeah, so that was the best moment of my life. Like to, I,
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
And even to speak to that, like the syncing of cycles, like you mentioned, like
Mm,
this sort of connection to girlhood or like womanhood, if you will. That's also something I feel like I hold pretty dear. Not the synced up cycles, but
mm,
just like the way women like if I have some straight cis friends, and sometimes they'll do things like we'll be playing a game, they're like boys versus girls, and then they're like, Jonnea, which side do you pick? I'm like, the girls. Don't put and so I feel like there's certain things like, syncing up, like whatever. There's certain like women oriented grouping or community things that I feel really like much more almost like at home than I would do with like, let's say, cis men. I mean, if
mm.
anything, I feel like, my gender has like presented now. I'm like more of like a flamboyant gay man. I'm like, yeah, put me with the girls. Where are the ladies? We're gonna like queen out. I don't wanna be, so I have this sort of like kind of association that like, I think really feeds into how I see myself, especially as a woman in this way.
Yeah. And you know what? That's so true. Women do kind of sync up in that way. I don't know if that's like generationally, right? We was like taking care of each other and taking care of family. And so women tend to take care of each other a lot, much better than men do. Men are just like, yeah, go on with that shit. I don't want to talk about nothing serious.
No, exactly. Exactly. And I have found myself, especially in situations where I'm passing or I'm like with one of the boys, I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
conversation sucks. I hate this. Where are the
Right.
girls?
Right, exactly. And even us having, in our gender diverse experiences, right, we can sit here and we could talk about a period, right? And I even know, like, being with a group of cis male friends, and I won't say friends, but associates. And one guy wanted to talk about, I won't say penis, I'm just say dick because we grown ups. He wanted to talk about his
Yeah,
dick. And he wanted to talk about his size, and he was insecure about it. And it was a group of us, and I was trying to lean into it because I'm like, this dude really got an issue. Otherwise, he wouldn't be mentioned in a group of, But then everybody else was weirded out about it. We don't want to talk about that shit. I felt so bad for him. It was like, damn, if only we was in a group of women, we would definitely have this conversation.
that's so funny.
And I felt so bad because he just genuinely wanted to talk about it, and he was just dismissed. I was like, and I was like, damn, I was thinking to myself, like, damn, that's really an issue for him. But he will never get relief because nobody is going to want to talk about that.
So, right. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. And I know that even growing up, I didn't understand women relationships because I felt out of place. But now I probably wouldn't say I want to go with the ladies. I don't know. I probably would actually. It depends on who the group of friends were that I was with.
Of course, yeah.
As far as safety, but I understand it more. So when I see like my sweetheart having conversations with her girlfriends, whatever, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it, right? It's different. It's a different inside view of what trans experience than it would be if you were a cis male and never had been in that space.
Exactly. And I do think like, as what it is like me being more comfortable in like my body or gender or whatever, like that sort of like, something that when I was little, I like either resisted or I didn't get it. And now there's a part of me, I'm like, oh, that is nice. Yeah. Oh, where are they? Yeah. I missed that. My bad. I was having an issue before. I fixed it now. I'm here.
I'm back.
Yeah, I'm back. Exactly.
I love that. I love it. So who is your support system right now? So you talked about your parents, but who else do you have in your corner that's like, yo, we got your back?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have like I'm lucky to have like a good group of friends. Even though, I've moved across the country, but I guess I've been there for a minute, so I've met good people. I have like some of my, there's my parents. I have like some aunties and stuff that are quite nice. They're definitely a bit of, love the sinner, not the sin, but we move past it. We have to move past it because they are very nice to me. And they're it's like one of those things, like ideologically, obviously we are not aligned. But if I call you and I need help, you will send it. Like, no questions asked.
Right.
Yeah, and I have and my partner as well. It's also quite lovely. And so I feel like I have like a good / hopefully growing support system. As I'm always trying to get more.
Right.
More support.
Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I am the producer for Dem Bois Podcast, and I am so excited to tell you about my production company, Pink Lady Productions. We collaborate with creatives like you who are driven to share your message by launching your podcast from A to Z and coaching you through the process. To learn more about our services, check out our website at pinkladyprod.com. That's PINKLADYPROD.com.
I was stuck on love the sinner and not the sin. It's a mind fuck, to be honest with you. Because that means you don't love yourself and you don't love anybody. Because if you believe in word and scripture, it's like we all are sinners. So who do you love then?
I know. Exactly. I guess you, right. No, and it's split. Like my dad's side of the family, they're much more Christian in that particular way. And my mom's side of the family, they're also technically Christian, but they're not like Bible bound. And I don't even know if they even go to church regularly, but they would identify as such. But I grew up Catholic. Like I got baptized. I went to Catholic school for a bit. I got communion. I did a lot of the sacraments and stuff. But yeah, I'm thinking of like one aunt in particular who I would say I'm like the closest to, and who has this sort of mindset. And it is kind of shy because it's like, if your scripture is that true, then why are you, she'll ask me my pronouns. She'll ask me how was the surgery. Like very much like she knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know the love the sinner, not the sin. I'm like, it's so tired. I took some religion classes in college just so I can kind of get a better understanding of what is happening. I mean, it's a liberal arts school, so it was like religion and gender, religion and race, and I mean, it was really eye opening of just like how people, in like the whatever 60s, 70s, 80s, the way people use the church as a tool of like queer liberation, of like they're looking at the same book and they're reading it completely different. There was like one idea. It's called it's like Imago Dei, which is that God made me in His image.
Mm-hmm.
And there was it's like a Black lesbian pastor whose whole thing was that, because she's like, if God made me in His image, well then He must look like me, and I'm Black and gay, so that sounds like my type of God. And it's like, wow, you read the same book as my auntie. And she did not get that message. She missed that somehow. So I don't know. I think it's interesting the way people try to use religion in that way. And it's like you can use the same book and actually preach good / better stuff
Right.
than this. But
Right.
yeah, what have you?
I always think of religion as sometimes some people just need direction. Some people just don't function well, just like some people join the military because they like that military structure. Not everybody that joins the military, right? But some people join it because they like that structure. Some people go into clubs or join certain things because they need someone to point them in the direction of what to do. Some people don't know how to freely maneuver and navigate the world as it is, so they need some type of direction. Now, for me, I feel like if religion, if Christianity, Catholicism, whatever it is that you choose, if that makes you a better person, by all means, continue.
Yeah.
But if you using that in order to put me down to think that you're going to be a better person, that I don't agree with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, I mean, I'm not particularly like religious or even spiritual, I would say. I definitely like believe in a God and believe in certain like, I don't know, spiritual ideals. But one thing I would, I've said before to some of my family members that I think like transitioning actually makes me feel somewhat closer or like even more spiritual. Cause I was trying to say like, sometimes I'll try to explain it as like, have you ever thought about the idea of like seeing a new color? Something that doesn't exist on like your visible human spectrum. And it's like, I'm trying to explain what maybe this is like, okay, maybe it's so hard for you to understand my gender experience. It's like seeing a new color. And like, I do think of also for me, like gender transitioning or even my comedy is just a series of questions. And, I asked a bunch of questions that other people weren't asking. Like, what does it mean to be a boy or a girl? And I have these new answers and like, and it kind of, I really do kind of go back to, I guess that class was helpful, that like made in his own image, that concept. And I'm like, right, I'm asking questions. Am I not exploring new ground in this way that, if my mind was more limited or closed-minded, I wouldn't be able to experience certain, I don't know, maybe God-like things. And like, I don't know, I think people of gender diverse experience are like tapping into this like a sort of like really universal, like old as Earth has been around, of like gender or like energy sort of stuff. And to think of yourself as just one way, one thing, like you're just closed off to all the other possibilities that I feel like God left a lot of Easter eggs, but you refuse to ask any questions. And look at you. You're you're looking at a book that was written by not God, actually, like men a few thousand years ago. I think that's weird. I think you're not asking enough questions. So yeah, I don't know. I think they're quite aligned in that way.
I love that. And I love a good Easter egg hunt. So I want to find all the goddamn eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
You know?
come on now. I mean, we have limited time here on this earth. You don't think I'm going to ask a question? Like, I want to know more.
Right.
And I think to be trans is to know more of yourself in this, like, whatever particular way.
Absolutely. And just unfolding and just asking more questions, not just of the world, but of yourself. Right. And
exactly.
we're asking people to challenge the Bible that was written thousands of years ago. People still stuck on the Constitution that was written several hundred years ago. Right.
I know these old ass documents that I'm like, the Constitution one or whatever, those sorts of like founding fathers, I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
At least the Bible has like this sort of specter of like otherworldliness. Like that's in DC. Like I can look at that piece of paper, you know, it's behind glass or whatever, but it's not. The founding fathers are not even otherworldly. They're just old men.
Old white men.
Old white guys who were doing terrible things.
Yeah, and want to write into law to protect the terrible things that they were doing, and to continue for other old white men to continue doing the terrible things that they did then, they're doing now. So
I know. I do think it's. I mean, you know, not to like go into particularly politics, but I do think it's funny when people are like, "Oh, but what about the Constitution?" I'm like, "Girl, it's too late. That piece of paper does not matter."
Yeah, fuck that shit. Yeah, fuck that damn paper.
So yeah,
and it didn't apply to my black ass anyway. So, well, I mean, it did in ways, right? But, but it wasn't for my liberation. So, fuck that paper.
Yeah, fuck that paper. Exactly.
Hey, this is Joel Simu, production assistant for Dem Bois Podcast. Looking to connect with others in the community? You'll love our brand new space, Dem Bois Community Voices, on Facebook. We created this private, moderated group specifically for trans men of color to share experiences, discuss episodes, and support each other on this journey. Ready to join us? Just click the link in our show notes to become part of this growing community.
I want to go back real quick before I jump into something. You said earlier that if you could change people's perception of you, you would do that. So how important is that for you to change how people view you, how people see you?
I mean, I think, you know, if I were honest, it does matter to me. You know, I think I am, you know, maybe in some ways, maybe too concerned, but it's true. I do care a lot about how people perceive me, how people think of me. You know, and especially in different contexts, whether it's like comedy or whether it's like my 9-to-5 corporate job. And when it comes to gender in particular, I wish I don't know if it's necessarily control, but I wish it's like, okay, when I wear this and I look like this, I'm giving stud lesbian. Cool. She, her, got it. And it's like, okay, if I'm dressed like this, I'm going in as a boy, he, him, got it. And like kind of knowing that, but I never know what cues. And, you know, I can hear people stumble. They're like, she, I mean, he, or vice versa. And that I have there's no pattern that I can find. Like even right now, I have like a beard and stuff. She, her, you know, and like, I mean, it changes. I don't know. Maybe someone said maybe it's a New York City thing. Like New York, they see all types of women or something like that. But, you know, I've gone overseas, like, you know, in Europe, I'm a boy. In most other places, I think outside of New York, I'm a boy. But that's also not always the case. I think if I shave, of course, I give more lesbian, I guess. But yeah, I wish I had more say on how people will perceive me, but I don't. And also, I do care a lot about how people think and see me, and not just like a gender way, but, you know, personality or, you know, yeah, I said earlier about being a people pleaser. In some ways, comedy is like the ultimate people pleasing activity, the ultimate like please like me. And I'm definitely feeding into, you know, but it is, you know, it's probably why I like it so much. I'm like, yeah, I don't have to fix this at all. Let me just lean into this. So
So I want to get into that because if anybody knows me, they know I love to fucking laugh. Stand-up comedy is my shit. That's my thing. I love it. I mean, I'm not a stand-up comedian, of course not, but I love it. I've always loved it. I have always loved to laugh. I think it was a part of my life. Like when I used to hang out with one of my aunts a lot, and I didn't have cable growing up, but my aunt had cable, so I would go over there, and that was what I used to watch. Def Comedy Jam, all the shit my mama wouldn't let me watch. I got to watch over there. So I look for laughter in everything that I do. If you my friend, we need to laugh. If we ain't laughing, you ain't my friend. If you my partner, if you ain't making me laugh, my sweetheart now, I always tell her she's my personal comedian because she always had me laugh. And I always usually call her to say shit so she can make me laugh because I know she's gonna make me laugh.
Yeah.
So know that you're a fucking comedian. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Like how did being a comedian start for you?
I've always wanted to do comedy. I got really into watching stand-up videos in high school. I've always wanted to do it. In college, I tried improv a couple of times. I don't think I'm very good at improv. So that was a non-starter. And I had talked about it for a long time. And then finally, my partner, as a birthday gift, got me a class to take in New York. Shout out Brooklyn Comedy Collective. They have all sorts of classes and stuff. They had a stand-up 101. And I thought it was going to be bad. I'm like, I don't know who's like, whatever. Like, I'll do it, of course. There's a showcase at the end of it. But the teacher, her name is Chanel Ali. She's incredibly funny and like so smart that like, I would say like, I was always good at school. I'm like good at following directions, like taking notes. And so she just broke it down so easily that I would go, oh, that's what's happening. Like, I get it. And she's amazing. And like, there was a showcase at the end. I did my little 8-minute whatever situation. And then after that, I was like, now I got it. Now I can see some like basic structure of like, she even went over like mic etiquette. Like, okay, take a brief breath, make sure you move the mic stand out of the way. You want people to see you. And like, she was so intelligent. And from there, like basically, so that was at the end of 2022, December of 2022. And from there, I met a couple people who were also kind of starting off and like trying to figure out, what does it mean to go to an open mic? Because that was really scary. But after that class, I was like, I got it. And, also that showcase, I was like, okay, I am funny. Like I thought I was funny before. I like making people laugh. That's also like my coping mechanism of like, if something's sad or like, I'll probably make a joke or something like that. So humor has always been like a leading force. And, and then I started doing stand-up for real in a real way. And, now it's like 3 years and I'm trying to just like amp it up. I would like it to be my full-time job. And, I'm really committed to stand-up, but, now it's opened up a whole world of like, improv again, there's sketch, there's acting, there's writing. I've met all of these people who have been in this world for so long. And like, I mean, it's shifted my life basically. And I wanted to shift more so that I can like really kind of orient myself around what it means to make people laugh. And also like, it's less about, seeing myself as representation, but more of like, okay, there's, I think being trans, the way people talk to me, the sort of situations I found myself in are actually quite funny. If you take away all of the sort of like fear or like danger that some of it comes, like a lot of it is really quite silly. And I have like so many interactions about it that I'm like, okay, this is like a novel point of view. Like no one thinks about, XYZ because they're not in my body, right? They're not having these weird, like people don't know how weird people are around trans people. I remember I was sunbathing at the park, totally alone. I had my shirt off. This old Caribbean dude, this old Caribbean black man came up to me and was like, hello? I go, hello. He was like, are you a boy or a girl?
Wait,
I go, excuse me?
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Did you hear that, Sean?
Yeah, wait a minute. Hold on. And this ain't no
Let me
damn
set the
joke.
scene.
Hold on, wait a minute. So you saying sunbathing. Now, if I understand sunbathing, you laying down either on your stomach or your back, shirt off.
Yeah,
Your eyes are closed, minding your own goddamn business.
Yeah, I had headphones in. I had a book. Like I was having like my own little picnic. You know, I was alone at the park
The
in
audacity.
daytime.
Okay,
You know,
I'm sorry. Continue.
but it's like right, and so like totally, you know, minding my business, and this man like says something. I go, what? He goes, are you a boy or a girl? I go, both. He goes, boy or a girl. I was like, man, I understood you.
Right.
Like, oh no, like a bit of both. He asked me one more time. I go, oh, it's both. Like, I don't know. He was like, okay, thank you. And then I see him walk off to a group. I'm like, were you having discussions over there? You know, I remember telling my aunt that, and she goes, no. I go, yes. People are
weird as
kind of
fuck.
crazy. And yeah, weird as hell. And like, you know, people got to know about it. I gotta tell more people. This is how people moving. You know, like people are in disbelief, but it's like I'm just sitting here. I'm doing nothing. I'm minding my own transgender business. And somehow I'm like co-opted into doing like a gender lesson for a stranger who's curious about my body from a distance. You know, that's weird.
And bold enough to come ask you about it. Now it's different if you like, ooh, are you gonna eat that last cookie? Can I have it? You know, that's something different. Oh, you got a quarter I can have or some shit like that. Okay,
yeah.
Just by all means. No, I'm not gonna have the cookie. Take it. God damn it. But to come all the way, to me, I question intention. So did you think I was sexy? And you like, I'm attracted to this individual and I want to go see what it's about, but I need to know if it's, I mean, what the fuck is the point? I don't get it.
Exactly. What are we doing here? And so, you know, I think that's the sort of, you know, when it comes to stand-up comedy or whatever, obviously so much of it is straight cis men and straight cis white guys and all sorts of things. And they make the same jokes and, obviously there are some people who are really good at the form and have insightful ideas. But, you know, I be going to these open mics and stuff, and it's about, you can guarantee at least 5 jokes that a cis straight white man will say, and it's always like something really hateful towards women, or like something strange about pedophilia, or something strange maybe about trans people, or about how they're like bad at sex, or like, you know, like it's like self-deprecation, but not really, because it's like,
it's predictable.
You have like an incel energy, like you believe that shit in a particular way. Like, and so, you know, it's tired and recycled, and you know, my favorite comedians are just like people who are just saying things I'm like, I've never thought about that before. Okay, and it sticks with me. So who are your favorite comedians?
Oh, I was about to ask you that. Okay, so my favorite comedian is actually Martin Lawrence. My favorite.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I like him because I'm talking about the old Martin Lawrence. I've seen him recently. It's not the same. Obviously, he's getting older and he's funny, but it's a different experience than what I remember when I was young, when he was younger and I was younger. But he brings his body into his comedy. I love that. I love people that act out what they're talking about. To me, that's funny. Martin, Martin is one of my favorite. Dion Cole is one of my favorites.
I love him. Yep, he's really good.
Yeah. So that's all I can think about now. But I think those are my top 2 favorites.
Yeah.
What about you?
So I have so many favorites. Okay. I mean, one that comes to mind, his name is Jay Jordan. He's one of my favorites. He's based in New York. He's a queer Black man. So funny, so smart. Definitely one of my favorites. Wow, you asked me that, and then I forget all of it.
Of course.
One of the classes, I actually really do love Kevin Hart. I saw his new special, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And you know what? I found myself laughing. I'm like, all right, he got me.
Okay.
There's Atsuko. I always fuck up her name, but she's this Japanese woman. She's really funny. There's a lot of people in New York that are kind of, you know, I am lucky enough to be on the stage with them. There's like a Sereni, a Joe Sunday. Grace Johnson, Sonny LaPraw. I mean, these are really like New York City, Brooklyn areas, but there's so much. Leslie Jones, I listened to her audiobook last year. Best thing I've ever listened to.
Really?
By far. Yes. I mean, it has to be the audiobook because she, first of all, is allegedly 4 hours of extra content.
Oh, geez.
Because she'll say things. She'll be like, all right, well, I didn't add this to the book, but let me tell you what really happened. I go, huh? What? Actually, I was walking to the studio today, and I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, you're talking in real time. Okay.
Oh, nice.
And it's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I think growing up, some of my favorites were like, I like Gerald Carmichael.
Yeah.
He's good. I tried watching his earlier stuff. He's much more like an edgelord, I would say. But now that he's gay and out, he has some, like, I think more interesting.
He's more free.
He's more free, and he gets to say things that are like actually more like interesting and honest versus just provoking. Yeah. No, I'm spoiled by being in a coastal city and being in New York. There's so much good comedy there.
I love that.
Come up to mind.
Yeah, to me, laughter it just frees the soul and kind of like takes all of that stuff that you were thinking about away. I do have a funny moment about a comedy show, and my sweetheart is going to be pissed off that I'm talking about this, but because it's either sci-fi, horror, or comedy is what I want to listen to. But I remember it was a time that we were watching a comedy show, and I can't remember the comedian, and it might have been Deion Cole. Actually, it was. And in his skit, because we were eating, we had ordered some chicken, and we were eating. And in the skit, he was talking about how Black folks are so dramatic when they choking on a chicken bone. And so I'm laughing. I'm like, we both laughing because it's funny, right? You just this little chicken bone, and you act like you're falling out or whatever. And she was laughing, but then she started choking. And I was like, is she for real? She was really choking. And I'm laughing because I'm like, this is so in line with the comedy.
You're so crazy. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, he's talking about Black folks being traumatic, choking on chicken bones. And she was like, no, I'm really fucking choking. But like, anyway, she really was choking. I ended up having to give her Heimlich, and we had to call the paramedics because
God.
Really, it was God. But I couldn't stop laughing because I'm listening to the comedy while she choking, and it was just a crazy moment of like
having to call for help. That's rough.
Yeah, she was like, "No, motherfucker, I'm really choking." I'm like, "Well, if you talking, you not choking," but no, she really was. It was a bad it was a bad thing. So paramedics had to come, and she had to. Yeah, it was serious. But I thought it was funny because it was in line with the comedy of like you really was choking on a chicken bone in the moment that he was talking about choking on a chicken bone. Anyway. But that's how much comedy is kind of like ingrained into my life. I'm always joking. I'm never serious. But when I was a kid, my mom always be like, stop being silly because you're gonna influence your brothers to be silly. I'm goofy. Anybody know me? I'm goofy. I love to laugh. I love to tell jokes. And I'm not a comedian by all means, but just it's something about laughter. It just frees my spirit.
I mean, I think also like, what was it? I think it was Leslie Jones in her book, or she was like quoting somebody else, but it's like, if you, this idea that like, if you can laugh at something, then you're not afraid of it. And, I think that is like, also like laughter, whatever, there's some scientific, like oxytocin, things like that. I think I've Googled it a couple of times before, like trying to understand like, historically, in terms of evolution, what does laughter do? And it like brings people together. You break down, and it's like also like for me, it's like how I like meet people in the sense of like, okay, if I meet someone, we're talking, and I'll say something like a little silly. If I can get them to like laugh a little, I'm like, okay, all right, now, that also for me, that's kind of how I get to know people. I'm like, okay, what is your humor? What do you, and it's. You ever find yourself around someone who is not funny at all? It's quite shocking. Or who's like serious to a fault, and I'm like, Now I feel like, maybe I'm too unserious. And it's like, it's kind of it's a game for me to try to figure out if I can like find it. I'm like, okay, this is it. But yeah, no, I love to laugh. I always thought like growing up, like, my top job, even before I did stand-up, was like always to be a stand-up comedian, because I'm like, okay, you just get to go into a room and make people laugh and get paid for it. That sounds like a great gig.
Mm.
And, I think there is something about like going on stage, like having a microphone means you're like, it low key means you're like the most important person in the room,
Mm.
right? Everyone can hear you. Everyone technically is supposed to shut up and listen to you. Technically. And, there's a bit of like a powerful thing because they introduce you, everyone shushes down, and then you are invited to kind of say whatever you want. And you're also, compared to other like stage performances, whether it's music or acting, you're supposed to react to the crowd. If there's a light flickering in the room, it's weird if you don't break it up, actually. So you really, it's this really present thing that you're trying to create with everyone. And, the best times I've had like on stage is when someone's like, oh, I've never thought about that before. Or like, wow, like, someone sent me a message of like, every time I see Jonnea, I think of you. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly like, that's the sort of, I want to like, it's kind of like an earworm or whatever, just like to sit there. And also, yeah, have a new thought that you've never had before.
2026 marks 10 years of Dem Bois Inc. That's 10 years of community care, 10 years of leadership rooted in love, and 10 years of turning visibility into possibility. And so to honor this milestone, we've launched our 10 for 10 campaign. You're like, Sean, 10 for 10, what's that? So we are inviting you, our listeners, our supporters, our allies, and other folks in the community to give $10 a month to help sustain the care, leadership, and visibility that trans men of color deserve. And so 10 years is a very long time, right? That's a decade. Can you imagine raising a child from birth and then looking at them at their 10th birthday party and being like, wow, you've watched so much of their growth within that 10 years, right? That's the same for us. And so Dem Bois Inc., over the 10 years, we have done a lot. And so we have provided gender affirming surgery grants to trans men of color to obtain gender affirming surgeries. We started this podcast. We are now in season 4 of the podcast in 2026. We created our Visibility Equals Possibility merch. We partnered with Emilio and Zion, both trans men of color, to design what visibility equals possibility means to them. And it's reflected in our merch. We also partnered with the Black trans man, Mola Flow, to create our theme song. And that's the music that you hear every time you tune into Dem Bois Podcast. We've done merch. We've done partnering. We have delivered care packages to trans men of color in need of personal hygiene items within our community. We have done a lot in 10 years. And so imagine what the next 10 years would look like. Donating $10 a month says, I believe in this work. I believe in the future of trans men of color, and I believe in what comes next. And so if this call resonates with you, join us today. And we've even made it easy. You don't even got to go anywhere. Whatever platform you're listening to this episode, go ahead and open up the show notes. And from there, you will be able to click the link to start your contribution to our 10 for 10 campaign. Your monthly support helps ensure Dem Bois can continue showing up for our community with intention, care, and impact. So thank you for listening and thank you for believing in our mission. Okay, and I'm going to get out of here so you can listen to this episode. Take care. And how were you able to navigate the comedy space with a gender diverse identity? How is that working out for you?
Yeah, it's working, I guess. Okay. It's coming together. In the beginning, I didn't want to bring it up at all. I didn't want to talk about it. I thought that maybe it's like a crutch or something. But then I had someone tell me, and it's been reinforced a couple of times of like, hey, you kind of have to tell us because we are trying. She was right, but basically like the audience is trying to figure you out, and I remember thinking, oh. I had the whole little joke, and she was, I'm sorry, it was like a classroom or like a feedback setting. And she was like, wait, so how do you identify? And I'm like, did you not hear what I said? And I'm like, oh, that's such a gap. And like, I've realized like, basically how I start every set is me going like, hey, my name is Jonnea. If you're wondering if I'm a hairy lesbian or a pretty boy, the answer is yes. It's true. I am trans. And I wasn't like, that's a joke that came out because, and I did a set and I talked about being trans. I had like whatever. And then the host came up and was like, "Oh, I'm glad you said something because I was confused." And I'm like, and I would say that performance wasn't that good. And I remember him saying that. I'm like, oh, is everyone like trying to figure out like, is this okay to laugh at? I once made a joke about a period, or like, and like the joke was about like I was like in an interview, like a job interview, and this woman was saying she like worked like for Tampax, like worked on period advertisements, and I think I went ill out loud, and I like had to, whatever. And I'm like telling this story like on, at an open mic and saying and realizing like, oh, like she doesn't know that like, oh, I'm coming in as like a cis man. Like, I don't know. This is all like wrong. And this woman came up to me and was like, sorry, like, can I ask, like, so what direction? Like, am I a man turning into a woman or a woman turning into a man? And I'm realizing that changes the joke completely. And now you don't know what I'm coming from. So, okay, I need to make this actually clear so that you can like, so yeah, I'm like, so it's almost like I have to make sure, okay, it's all right. I know you're maybe a little confused, but I will hold your hand so that we can move past that and get into like what I think is funny.
Right, so we can
that's
laugh
not
together.
related.
Yeah.
My aunts would be like, oh, she's like, are you ever going to write jokes that are not about your lifestyle? I'm like, damn, girl. Okay, first of all, it's not a lifestyle. We've talked about this.
Jesus. Is this the sin? Is the sin, auntie?
It is.
Oh,
it is.
goodness.
And she gives me a lot of feedback. And
goodness.
and but I told her, I was like, you wouldn't say that to a black comedian to say like, are you gonna stop talking about black stuff? Well, no. I mean, it's there in the room. I have to. It's and I think but it is like it's like a thing that I feel, or I'm like conscious about. Like I need to put it in the beginning so that we can be all on the same page and make it sure that we can laugh. It's okay. We can laugh. So there's a bit of hand holding that has to happen, but generally, I think both being in New York, the privilege of living in Brooklyn, there is a ton of queer comedians, a lot of trans comedians. And so, that's actually been nice because it makes my trans jokes sharper. To be in a room full of queer people or trans jokes or trans people. All right, if I'm going to make gay jokes, they better be fucking funny. Because like I've heard comedians, let's say like their joke is that they're trans. Isn't that like a novelty? And to a straight cis room, like that works. But like I don't, that's not how I want to do it. Or like, whether it's like either trans man or trans woman who like talk about their body in a particular way that's like meant to be shocking, I would say. Like, what? I have a penis or I don't have a penis? That's crazy. And it's like, I don't want you thinking of me naked at all.
Yeah.
Actually.
Right. Exactly.
Don't even think about that.
Yeah.
So there's I do think being in Brooklyn, whatever, like there's a sharpening with those jokes. And, it makes it a little bit easier to navigate. But, one of the things that I haven't had the chance to do really all that much is to work a black room. Now, doing comedy in a black room, I really, really want to, but it does scare me
we all know
because
that's tough.
it's totally different. And, when it comes to how I present, I think if I was like a stud lesbian, okay, that like fits into a box that like I think black people know about. If I was like very much like a flamboyant gay man, okay, I know what that means. But this other third thing that I'm kind of like rocking with, like I don't know how to translate that so that we can all be on board. And let's see if you think I'm funny still. That's kind of like what I want to try to do this year, is to basically get out of Brooklyn and go up to Harlem and go up to these more like uptown mics, uptown places to try to see if I can make a group of mostly or somewhat older straight black cis people laugh. And it's going to be different in terms of how I even talk about my gender and stuff. So I don't know. It is weird. And then there's always the, going to an open mic, you make a trans joke, someone else makes a trans joke and points at you, and I'm like, don't do that. Like, don't do that. So it's all sort of the expected things of like when it comes to any minority group, if you will. So, but the jokes are interesting.
I felt like I was witnessing your processing. Like everything that you just said, it was like I feel like it's the development of a great comedian. You just, you just talked about navigating different spaces and why, navigating your gender in these spaces and why, like to me, because I love comedy, and to me, I've never seen it in that way, right? You can follow, Kevin Hart on a Netflix special. He talking about his life, his kids, his family. But to see somebody's inner workings, you just work through all that shit right here, right? To see your inner workings out loud, that just shows me, wow, I cannot wait to see your greatness in the future.
I hope so. I mean, and I think that is what, for me, it feels like it's like a tickling or something. Like, oh, it's like, and I think, again, shout out to Chanel, because I didn't really understand how intellectual, like a good comedian, a great one, it's intellectual. You have to read the room. You have to do like 5 things at once. And, hopefully you're able to adapt in the moment if you realize like, I like misjudged the room, or like, this other thing is actually funny. I'll just talk about that. But I mean, the Black Room is the one I want, because it is like a thing of like, I remember I listened to Ali Wong's book. And she talks about how she went to, she had a show in Atlanta, and she, she's from the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
So she went to Atlanta, she got booed off stage. She got booed off
Black
stage.
folks will do that to you.
Yeah.
We're hard to please.
Right. And she realized, I remember she was talking about, she goes, oh, fuck. Oh, I need to step it up. I need to like these little, like, she said like these little weird kind of more niche, kind of like jokes that work for the Bay Area, work for this, sort of town, this sort of demographic. And plus, obviously she's Asian, so a lot of Asian people, like whatever, like that's different than going to Atlanta and try to talk to a room of Black people. And, and she talks about that moment of like, oh, okay, I need to go look at this again. Mm. And so I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for what could be a truly, maybe a somewhat humiliating moment, but I think it'll make me better. I just need to get up there. And just, it's just navigating those different rooms. And it's an intellectual activity, to be self-aware, basically.
And that can carry on to anything in life, and not just comedy, right? Some people ain't self-aware of the shit that they doing, and they just doing stuff, right? You're never going to get better. You're not going to evolve. You're not intellectually thinking about how to be better and go to the next step. And while you were talking, I was like, oh, I could think of 2 more comedians that I like. I like Joe Coy.
Yes, that's one of my mom's favorites. Yes.
Really? And I also like Marlon Wayans.
Marlon Wayans, yes.
Yeah, he's also a comedian that brings his body into the comedy.
Yeah, physical humor. I would say that's also something I haven't really explored just yet. I have a few jokes that are like kind of acting out, but yeah, I think, there's all these sorts of tools. I'm like, okay, you could say a joke and like maybe it's mid, but maybe if I like did this act out, it's actually really great. It's just like finding that formula, so to speak.
Love that. So this is the part of the show where I love to ask my guests a random ass question. I got a list of questions. I'm not going to ask you all of them, but I have a list that is now at 84 questions. Okay. And so I want you to pick. I randomly come up with these questions. I could wake up out of my sleep and like, oh shit, that's a question to add to my list. Season 3, I had guests leave a question on my list.
Okay.
But you just pick a number between 1 and 84 and I'll read you that question.
Okay. 1 and 84. Let's do 33.
33. Okay. I always say that the questions may or may not have anything to do with what we talked about, but sometimes it does.
Okay.
But number 33 says, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, that is such a good question. I really do love movies. I would say my most recent favorite movie, one that comes up is I, Tonya.
What's that?
It's with Margot Robbie. It's about the true story of the ice skater. I don't know what year the Olympics, but she was a figure skater, and basically her boyfriend or her boyfriend's friend broke the
Oh,
knees
yes.
of
Yes.
the competing
Nancy
ice skater.
Kerrigan broke the
Yes,
knees of
Nancy Kerrigan. Yep.
and Tanya
Tanya
Harding.
Hardy.
Tanya Harding.
Yep.
Oh my.
I, Tanya on
Ah,
with Margot Robbie. Yeah, I really love that movie. I don't know.
okay.
Sometimes I'll watch a movie. I'm like, wow. I also really liked. I mean, I also really like Baby Girl for some reason.
Okay.
The Nicole Kidman one.
Okay.
Sinners is really great. I've seen that a couple times. I'm trying to mix it up. I'm like, what are all these white women movies? So, like hearing myself,
Hey,
like, oh,
no judgment. No judgment at all.
I really love that. An old movie I think about a lot is 7 Pounds.
Oh,
You see, it's like a Will Smith movie.
no, never heard of that.
But yeah, I'm trying to watch more movies in general. But I know you said also you like really love horror and stuff.
Yes.
I love horror and fucked up movies. The more fucked up it is, I'm like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I really love the Talk to Me.
No.
You know that horror movie?
No.
And it came out, I think, in 2024, and it stars, I don't know her name, but she's this like Black Australian girl, but it's like a sort of like it's a 90-minute movie. It's like I think it's an A24 situation, but they have this sort of thing that they play with at a party where you hold the hand and you say "talk to me," and then
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, that one I really like too. I
Okay.
like that one.
I'm gonna check that out. We're gonna try to plug all the movies that you talked about in the show notes so folks can see them, even the white ones.
Yeah. I know I tell you that's what the Baby Girl one was. I would say is a bit embarrassing, but I don't know that it got me. I was like,
Hey,
this is great.
it's subjective. If you like it, you like it. Hey,
I like it. So
right, exactly.
whatever.
So, how can people check you out? How can people show up to your comedy shows? How can people book you to come into the city to do comedy?
Yes. So basically on all socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, it's J0NNEA. So it's my name, but with a 0 instead of an O. You catch me there. That's where, especially Instagram is probably where I'm most active. I try to post shows there and like where I'm at. I have like a link in my bio. It's like a bit.ly link. So it's like bit.ly/C Jonnea live. So that's how you can find me in my email. I'll also be checking that too, obviously. It's my first name, Jonnea, Herman @gmail.com. And I'm this actually, speaking of just like trying to solidify my stand-up aspirations. This is the year I'm trying to do like a 30-minute set around my birthday, which is in October. So where is that going to be? I don't know because I'm emailing venues today, things like that. But based in Brooklyn, and I'm happy to go anywhere. I work as a graphic designer, and I do like it technically, but I like doing it for myself. My job is kind of crazy, and I would like to do stand up. I think that's a more better use of my time.
Yes, let's speak that into existence. And I was going to say, you may see me at a show in front row. And I'm only saying front row because you say you don't do good improv. So I know you won't fuck with me if I'm sitting in the front row.
Oh, I do not. Crowd work is not something I do that much. And
great.
I've done it a couple of times and I get scared in real time. I'll start and I go, okay, never mind. There's been a couple of times where I've tried and I remember once like or two things. Like once someone said something and I didn't know I had nothing to say and I go, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say to that. So I'm gonna go back to my, my jokes. I was like, yikes. And then,
Wah, wah.
and sometimes I try to plan for it. Like, that's kind of how, like, like, okay, you say something and then you're like, okay, I usually get this response. So let me plan like this interaction. I have a joke where I talk about, like, I go, is anyone here mixed? To start talking about being Black and Puerto Rican. And then once I had someone go, yeah. And then I go, okay, so like, what's your mix? And then they go, do I have to say?
Oh,
And I'm like, no, but you started. Why did you talk?
yeah.
Or like, I think one time I said, I'm mixed, and someone booed. I go,
Whoa, what the fuck?
I was like, it is not my fault.
Right.
You can't be mad at me. You go talk to my parents.
Right.
It's not my fault.
People are weird as fuck.
I know people are strange. So I have like a couple. Yeah. So exactly. If you're front row, I will not bother you.
Good. Great. Hopefully I can see you one day in person. I've actually never been in New York, but maybe if you're somewhere around the country, who knows? Maybe you in Vegas. Maybe,
I mean, I would love to do some, I have a friend in the Bay Area. I have a couple of people. I would love to do stand up there. So
community, if y'all listening, y'all got venues and y'all need a comedian, we got somebody to book right here.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
I am available.
Yes. Jonnea, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to bless us with your presence.
Oh, no, thank you, Sean. I'm so excited to be here. I'm honored to have been asked and flattered to be part of your series, your season. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.